There was the erotic cake store on Newbury Street.
Oh no, that's on Mass Ave, right off.
Yeah,
Street.
It's off the.
Ferg's it's actually right now.
I drive by it every
their chocolate
day.
cream's really good.
Trying to remember, who was it that brought up cake farts earlier?
It also knows where the erotic cake store.
I gotta go, guys.
Welcome back, everyone, to S1E1, a show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, and forgetting anything we might know about the future run of that show, rate it and decide if it's a show we want to greenlight or cancel. This week we're going to be talking about Whitney. Whitney went 38 episodes over 2 seasons on NBC. Here we're talking about episode 1, which was called Pilot, originally airing September 22nd, 2011. So to get things started, I'm Jay Gags. With me as always, the boys, most of them, Joe, Ferg, and Nick no Gordo this week.
Hey-o.
Yo, hey.
A white pattern. This whole podcast is a white pattern.
Oh, that's not the one I thought you were going with. So,
Who picked this show?
Yeah, who picked this show?
me. I picked the show.
This show made me miss the Charmings.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
So yeah, I guess to jump right into it before, I picked the episode. It was a show that I remember when it came out, and it's funny because at the time, I remember seeing it, and I was not a fan of Whitney Cummings at that time.
I don't think I knew who she was. I don't think I knew she was a comedian.
Until this came out, I had no idea who she was, and it popped up, and I don't know, for whatever reason, didn't resonate with me. And now flash forward all these years later, and I'm more familiar with her comedy, and I listen to her podcast. I'm like, this would be fun to revisit, just because so much time has changed. I haven't watched an episode since, it first came out, and that was, almost 15 years ago.
I did know who she was and was a fan when this came out. So my wife and I watched, I want to say the first maybe 2 or 3 episodes in real time of this. And then we stopped because, well, this is not a very
As we'll
good
talk
sitcom.
about. Yeah. Were the other two of you guys familiar with the show?
No, it's weird because I have such a weird memory of stupid shit that doesn't matter, and I don't remember the show ever existing.
You know what's funny is I actually, I know the show is named Whitney and she's in it. I remember Chris D'Elia more than her being in it.
Yeah. Oh, I think he was definitely on the rise at that time. And
Boy, did that get snuffed out quick, didn't it?
Not really.
I don't want to talk too much about it. Obviously, if you know much about Chris D'Elia, there's been a lot of allegations against him and stuff he's talked about. And I will try to refrain from getting too into it as we do the episode, as we like to not get too deep into that stuff. But as far as Whitney Cummings goes, what's funny is, so she creates this show for herself. At the same exact time is one of 2 creators for Two Broke Girls. Both shows debut on alternate networks a couple days apart. So she has 2 competing shows on television, or for 2 different networks at least, that literally same week debut both of them. And then obviously, this went 2 seasons, but Two Broke Girls had a much larger run.
I think that's probably because Garrett Morris never tried to groom a bunch of teenagers. So they were like, your show can go on as long as it
Well, I
needs
said
to.
I wasn't going to get too into it, but
Look, Casper Jackson wanted to be on this episode so badly, and I had to be like, look, you can't. You just can't this week, bud. I'm sorry.
couple quick numbers. IMDb has this show in at a 5.8. Rotten Tomatoes, critic score 21%, audience score 42%. If this is a show that you feel like watching, if you want to watch Whitney, see what it's all about, or to listen along with us, you can go to Fandango at home and watch it on that app.
It's also on Roku. That's where I watched
free
it.
Is it free on Roku? It's
Yeah,
free
I
on
watched it,
Fandango at home, which was up until the recording of this episode did not know it existed.
Interesting too. It's on Roku, commercial free too.
Interesting.
I expected to have to watch a few commercials, but
No one wanted their ads on this show.
Yeah,
even Tubi passed.
I was just excited to find out about another streaming site. So I got Fandango at home as soon as I found out.
it's Fandango.
That was the one that was all over movies when we were in high school, right? Fandango was you bought movie passes.
They
from
sold
there?
tickets.
Yeah, that's right.
It was AMC's ticket thing. And I think, you know how Showcase Cinemas had movietickets.com, everything else had Fandango.
Like if you went to go see like 8-Legged Freaks, you saw like 20 minutes of Fandango commercials ahead of it.
Yep.
Yeah, so it is available to watch. Is this the quickest we've actually started talking about a show? Like,
I think because all the stuff that I really want to talk about this will just get edited out anyway, so I'm just like saving the middleman.
well, actually, one thing before we get started, I do want to mention, so Whitney Cummings on this show plays a fictionalized version of herself. Not the first time we've covered a show like that. So we recently did Marin, Seinfeld, obviously, Mulaney. So this is another one where Whitney Cummings is playing Whitney Cummings, but she's not like comedian Whitney Cummings. It's a weird.
Yeah, she gives herself a different profession.
Yeah, so she's a photographer on the show. So it's like, you know, like Home Improvement, Tim Allen becomes Tim Taylor, who's a different person. Here, Whitney Cummings plays Whitney Cummings, who's a different person.
Yeah.
It's odd.
It is weird.
She's a version that, like, Michael J. Fox went back in time and changed something. He came back, and that's the version he got.
Yeah.
You're trying to tell me that Whitney Cummings is a photographer?
Not as good as your Reagan, unfortunately.
Well, that Crystalia, I think he's got good things going for him.
So, so to get into the first scene, we have Whitney, and you see her like in the mirror getting ready, and that's when Alex, who's Crystalia, her boyfriend, walks up to, and the two of them are just getting ready in the mirror. There's a song playing. At first, I'm like, is this the intro? But it's not. It's just like a montage to start off the show.
It does feel like the intro song, right?
It was weird to just have a song playing to start the episode that wasn't like the intro. So I was like, is this how the episode? But then you realize it's just them getting ready, and then it kind of flows into the episode.
The chemistry here is better than their chemistry any other time during the episode.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
not saying much.
I'll say this. We'll get into it, obviously, as we go along. I kind of feel like this show is a little bit of a tale of two episodes, first half, second half.
Yes, 100%.
I do things change a bit. I thought their chemistry is like decent, but I felt like, especially here, as soon as we leave this like scene where they're getting ready and we see him like waiting for her and stuff, and then their first like bit of dialogue felt very like, oh, neither of these two were used to acting on a sitcom yet. So like it's just the dialogue felt very like unnatural on both halves.
That's a tough thing too, right? Because if you think of a sitcom, like we just mentioned, right, like say Home Improvement, right, we're like real actor side by side with a comedian. Like that's usually how it goes, right? Where you've got Seinfeld, real actors, comedians, right? You get like the people who do this shit all the time and they balance it out. Whereas in this one, you've got two people who are like, you want to be on a sitcom, and they both have to figure it out in real time. That's a little different.
I know they both have done a lot. Chris D'Elia probably more so than Whitney Cummings, but I look at both of them as stand-ups first, actors second.
Everything aside from what he's done in his past, what else has he done that like he had more acting?
Ironically, you know how like the kid from Together Who Died often played the sick and dying kid and everything?
Yeah.
Chris D'Elia was in a similar situation with a lot of roles he's played.
Yeah. Crystalia basically played Crystalia a lot of times.
He's been in a lot of things that were like, I bet he wishes he didn't take those roles.
I just meant what's his IMDb credits look
No.
like.
He literally has, what show was it? They had to like take the episodes out of rotation. Workaholics.
Yeah,
Oh, Workaholics, yeah.
In Workaholics, he plays a character that's like Chris the pedophile, and Comedy Central had to be like, we're not going to do that one in syndication anymore. This doesn't track anymore.
It's funny, too, because he was actually in Workaholics before this, which I thought this show was older. I thought this was like an 05, 06 show. It's a 2011.
Yeah, my memory kind of thinks of it as a little older than it is, come to think of it.
Really? This felt like a 90s show to me.
You know why? Because I feel like, Jay, I watched this in your living room at one point, which we did a lot in the 04, 05, 06 times.
Yeah.
We're hanging out in 2011 as well. I was living at the Igloo at the time. Maybe we watched it there.
Maybe.
I was blacked out most of the time you lived at the Igloo, so I don't know.
A lot of people were.
But yeah, I mean, up until this, to answer your question, Ferg, he's in about 15 things before Whitney, so he does have acting experience before this.
One thing I want to say about before I get into kind of the first like real scene, the whole intro thing of them getting ready, was this designed so we, the audience, see Whitney Cummings in a bra in the first 10 seconds of the show?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was her sex appeal for sure, and she leans into. If you know Whitney, you know she's okay with it.
Yeah, and obviously she's a very attractive lady, but like she spends the last half of this episode on like a sexy outfit. I think this is more just to give them chemistry. I don't think this was supposed to be tantalizing.
It was one of those things where, listen, she's very open as a comedian podcaster about like any work she's had done since the show or anything like that. But it felt like the show very much first episode where like we need the audience to be attracted to this girl. Like I felt like they did a lot of that throughout the episode where she's in sexy attire, she's in a bra in her first scene, and like I just thought there was a lot of
course there's
that.
a demographic you're going after for this, because this is not our parents you're going after, right? Maybe the dads. But like,
but she's a legitimately like funny and smart girl. Like you didn't have to be like, whoa, we better sell the sex on her. You know what I mean?
But
like,
I feel like her hand is in this, right? And she knows like this is what you got to do sometimes, and she's okay with it. She's so fuck it, let's get more eyes on it if you can. I think is probably how it went.
A lot of her comedy too, I mean, does go towards this too. I mean, she's got that whole comedy special with the sex doll that she made.
Yeah,
look like
that she made. She had a real girl doll made of herself. And then
right, so she does lead into this in her comedy, so that makes sense. But I think that she also is probably smart enough to know that she is objectively attractive and like didn't need to do this.
Yeah.
Especially if the whole last half of the episode is her in like a sexy nurse outfit.
When we see her like running out, because you see Alex like, come on, we're waiting, or he's waiting, and she runs out, and we find out that they're about to go to a wedding, and she's like running into the living room, like trying to get her shoes on in a hurry. Right off the bat, like we kind of touched on it already, but like Crystalia's first 3 to 4 lines, every time he smiled, he was smiling after every joke he was telling, and it was like, dude, you got to stop. Like you got to stop grinning like you didn't read the script already. Like you got to play this a little bit more realistic.
He definitely feels like he is playing to a studio audience and not to a sitcom camera.
Which is mentioned that, I think later on we see like the actual intro, if you want to call it that, but it is in front of a live studio audience.
And I do appreciate that. I think that all sitcoms should be. I think the only sitcoms that shouldn't be are ones that are like Kevin Can Fuck Himself. Like that shouldn't be a studio audience, right? Like something like that is like weird enough, and yeah.
Multicams inherently are like made for a situation where there could be an audience. They're having this dialogue because as she runs out, she's in a dress, but over the dress, she has a black hoodie on. He's like, you can't wear that to a wedding. She's like, I got cold. Like last wedding I went to, I was freezing. The one in Mexico where the groomsmen were all in shorts.
Ugh. And like, look, I will say this, my wife, cold, right? If we're going to a restaurant, she'll be like, it's gonna be cold in there. Doesn't matter what time of year it is, brings a hoodie. But like, you can bring a hoodie to the wedding. You just don't wear it when you're in the wedding part. You know what I mean? Like,
they also have like sweaters to accompany dresses that like kind of work. Like those,
like a nice shawl.
It's not like she's like Fetterman, right? Like with like a giant baggy hoodie on in Congress, right? Like she's got like a tight fitting, like neat hoodie over her dress. Like that's an actual look. Like I think she looks totally fine.
No, I would argue this is your standard like early 2000s scene kid black zip up hoodie. Like, that's all that is.
I think she looks fine personally. Like again, take it off when people are walking down the aisle, but like have it if you're cold. Don't be cold for no reason.
You don't own a nicer hoodie or nicer jacket, I mean.
Can we pivot for a second about the apartment? Does the apartment strike anybody as really weird?
I didn't I usually look more, but I didn't this time.
It's set up like a studio because the bedroom is like in the living room, right? Like you walk into the bedroom, like from the front door, you walk into the bedroom. There's a couch and like a living room set up all in one room.
No, because she goes into the bedroom later when he falls.
Yeah,
she goes into the bedroom to do like sexy time when he trips later on, and that's out of the kitchen.
There's a whole other door, and then like that bedroom has its own closet. It was the bedroom was to the left, as was the door.
Oh, so the first scene is not is in the bedroom, but that's not the main part of the house.
I was under the assumption that was they were in the bathroom.
I'll have to go through and look because I was confused by this, but you guys being right would fix it.
Yeah. So
classic alcove scenario.
Yeah.
She decides, all right, I'll take the hoodie off, and makes it known to him, like, but just so you know, I won this. She takes the hoodie off, and now he's like, wait, you can't wear that.
You can't tell she's wearing white when she has a hoodie on. Like,
yeah, he should have done that immediately. Like, the black contrasted hoodie probably should have made it even easier to spot previously.
One thing at a time. You notice the hoodie first, but yeah, now he's realizing she's got a white dress on. So she's going to a wedding in a white dress. And she's saying how it's a stupid rule. Like, what's the groom going to get confused and marry me by accident?
Waka.
This felt like a lot of, and it's funny because like I know her stand up and she's funnier than this. So for someone to like write these jokes, these felt like hacky stand up jokes.
Like comedians sometimes make some of the worst comedy on these things.
So I feel like these comedians, they have a certain type of comedy and then they get put on a network show and you can't do what you normally would do. So it's almost like any show with a comedian, it should be an HBO show or like FX.
Well, also though, sometimes I feel like stand-up, the way you set up stand-up jokes versus the way that you do like comedic writing for a show, it's just different writing, right? So now you have someone like from one world trying to another. And I can't say that there's obviously a team of writers. She's not sitting there alone with a typewriter. And I'm also, for all I know, she could have written plenty of TV before that I'm just unaware of. But yeah, just sometimes like, and I found in this episode, there was a lot of times where jokes were like kind of unnaturally inserted in a way just to like get the joke in. Yeah, this was just kind of like one of those examples of, I don't know, it just didn't feel like natural dialogue.
Like every single joke from the sexual predator cop.
Yeah.
That guy fucking sucks so hard. Mark, dude,
We'll
man,
talk about him.
that is the worst character of this whole episode.
When that guy
awful.
started talking, that was when I messaged the chat. This sucks. It was right after that.
We'll talk about him soon. We're going to meet him in a little bit. So she gets changed. She runs into another room. Now she runs out in a yellow dress. He's zipping her up. He's like, oh, is this new? It's like, no, I just hate it. And then she gets into this other thing where, you know, I feel like all we ever do is go to weddings. I can't remember the last time I sat down to eat without a DJ telling me to get this party started. And it was again like in this moment, like this is not natural dialogue. It's just like you have this joke you want to tell. So how do we get from?
I don't know. I kind of agreed with her here.
You can agree with the point. It's just a matter of like, this isn't how conversation goes, even like sitcom.
Yeah, but also like, even if you feel like it's wedding season and you go to 2 weddings in the entirety of a summer, that is still like, 100 days you sat down to eat whatever meal you wanted without somebody yelling at you. And I know it feels like, especially if it's a traveling wedding or whatever, right? Like if you're flying somewhere, it takes more time, but I don't know. How many of their this is what's confusing too, is you meet all of her friends. One's divorced, the mom's divorced, not recently married. One is with somebody for a year, but they're not married yet. So you meet a big group of her friends, none of whom are married. How many weddings has she gone to? Who are these people?
Yeah.
Must all be his friends.
All his friends? They're too young to get married.
Right here is probably the first piece of dialogue I actually liked was, so now they're finally running out of the house. And she's like, okay, phone. He's like, got it. Keys, got him. And then she goes, purse. He's like, not that whipped.
You can grab her fucking purse. That doesn't make you win.
Thank you. Yeah, she's like, can you grab my purse? And you go, okay. I do it all the time. Get my bag. Okay.
You're not holding it for her while she goes to the bathroom in a public place. Like, grab my purse for me.
I thought that particular line worked out. And
it was forced in. It's a funny joke, but it was for the immediate there.
We're going to get an immediate like payoff to that soon after, which is why that's even in there. But I don't know. I thought that was funny. And I thought that was actually good timing and like well done between the two of them. So
like, I can't touch a purse. I'm too manly.
Only gay guys hold purses. It's like, all right, bud. Thanks for playing.
So now we get into the intro, I guess. And all it is just, it's a blue screen. She's like being piggybacked by, him. And as they walk across the screen, it reveals the title of the show. It's like, this was filmed in front of a live studio audience. And there's no song, no nothing. It's just like, that's it.
Doing this show for so long now, we're in 200 and something episodes. It's to a point, especially when you watch a very hard to like deal with opening scene. You're like, oh god, 22 minutes and the opening title card is only 8 seconds. That means I've got so much more show. Fuck.
So I had a similar thing with this, but it was while the credits were still rolling on the bottom, like because you know how like it slowly plays, it's like produced by this, and I was like, man, I wonder how long this show's going to be. And then a credit popped up. I was like, oh my god, the credits in the beginning are still running. This is going to be a long episode.
I didn't find this to be like a super clock watcher. And now listen, I got plenty to say about this show, but I didn't find it to be like super draggy or anything like that. But
I wouldn't say it dragged. I would say like, it's not a clock watcher in a sense that you're like, oh, when is this going to be over? It's just like, I don't know. It's paced weird.
I think the last third moves very quickly, but the first 2/3 drag a little to me.
Agreed.
Now we cut to the like wedding itself. the two of them like standing there, like looking for their name cards for their table. That's when we first meet Lily, who's one of her friends, and she shows up with her boyfriend, Neil. Neil, if you recognize him, was Jonathan on 30 Rock.
Yeah, he's like a recurring character for like most of the show.
He was on 30 Rock?
He was Alec Baldwin's assistant, Jonathan.
I don't remember. I remember him from...
He's in a lot of episodes. He's in almost every episode of 30 Rock.
From Weeds is what I remember him from. I've seen all of 30
What was
Rock
he on
too.
Weeds?
He was one of Nancy's drug dealers in the season where they had like that drug house where they grew everything.
Oh yeah.
He actually came in and out of the show a bunch.
He was gay, but he ended up impregnating the other girl, right?
Yeah, one of U-Turn's girls, yeah.
Lily and Neil are like wearing matching attire and they get called out for it. And they're like, oh, it wasn't intentional. And it's like, oh, maybe it's just because we're so connected or whatever. And they like, you know, a lot of PDA between these two. And then they notice that they're also like at table 8. They met at a wedding sitting at table 8 together. And then she goes, and then wound up at the Motel 6. And I'm like, oh.
You know what, though?
God.
I hate all of this. I laughed at that joke.
You laughed at
Really?
that joke?
I did laugh at that joke.
That joke fit in the context of the conversation where the other purse
It
joke
was
did not.
so over-delivered, though.
Well,
so
like Jay said, though, the purse joke is comes to the next scene because he's carrying the purse for his
So
girlfriend.
you do that scene at the actual wedding. You don't have it in the privacy of a house just to set up a joke for later.
No, I mean, it depends. It depends. I guess I'll probably be inconsistent with how I feel sometimes, but yeah, I mean, we did get the immediate call back because that last scene ends with him basically saying, I'm not that whip to hold your purse. And now flash forward 30 seconds and we see like, Neil, do you have my purse? He's like, got it.
But again, to Ferg's point, I don't think that's whipped. If your significant other's like, can you hold my purse for a second? You're like, okay. You're never like, no, people are going to see me and say things.
Well, to be fair, Christopher is used to his girls wearing backpacks.
Behold my JanSport. No, it's weird that I was thinking of when this episode of this scene rather came up is how like Motel 6 started because their rooms were $6 and how short-sighted of a name that is. They're like,
yeah, prices will never
6.
change.
Our rooms will be $6 forever. Inflation will never happen. It's like,
At least they weren't like Motel $6. And then they were like, shit, now we got to change all the signs.
put all those moose in the room. Or those deer. That's deer. That's a deer joke. Sorry.
7-Eleven was like because they were open from 7 to 11, and aren't they like all 24 hours now?
And Store 24 came along and were like, hold my fucking purse. And they were like, okay, never mind.
Like, whoa, I don't hold purses.
I don't hold purses. I'm 7-Eleven.
Dick Sporting Goods. So now we meet Roxanne for the first time. And this is another one where she comes in a little, I don't know, try to not be like overly like just shit on everything mood, but like as soon as she walks in, I feel like she's very over the top, her character.
She's from Better Call Saul.
Yeah. I think she's probably the best actor on the show.
Well, she comes in like real hot. And
I mean, that's her thing.
well, she's talking about, she's like, they criticize her for wearing pants. She's like, oh, I wear whatever I want. Like I pay alimony to an ex-husband who does spoken word for a living. And then Neil's like, because she's holding a glass of wine, like, oh, they're serving drinks. Like, no, I brought this. And I was like, this was too unrealistic. It's one thing if she had a flask in her hand, but you would not like walk into a wedding with a wine glass full of wine.
I think she was making a joke.
I didn't take it that way.
I had it written down. Was this a joke, or was she being sarcastic, or was this a bad joke?
Do you know how this would have worked, though? Later on, there's a scene where she walks into Whitney's apartment and she grabs a bottle of wine. And Whitney's like, there are glasses over here. And she doesn't need one. She's chugging the bottle of wine. She should have pulled a glass out of her purse and then poured the wine into it. And then that would have referenced back to why she had a glass of wine at this wedding.
Or walked in with just the bottle. But like walking, or like, but because like walking in with like a glass of wine, now we're conflicted, I guess, but I registered it as she legit walked in with it. Like, who would walk in with an actual proper glassware glass of wine?
Yeah, I honestly didn't know. I didn't know what they were going for.
Do you know what she feels like to me? She feels like Sandra Bernhardt's character in Roseanne.
Sure.
Who's Sandra Bernhardt?
She had like curly red hair.
Yeah, curly red hair. She's kind of tall.
You'd know her if you saw her.
You would know her.
If you saw her, you know right away. Yeah,
she was in the early seasons a lot more than the late seasons.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't know if she was on the show for the late seasons at all.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
it's like the same sort of character that she plays, that Sandra Bernhard plays in Roseanne.
She's in Severance.
So now we flash forward, and it's the actual wedding ceremony is about to start. And the scene starts by you see Whitney drop her phone, and it's like right in the aisle. So as she's like going to pick it up, she like goes to look up after she grabs it, and now she's face to face with the bride and like got in her way as the bride was trying to walk down the aisle. And it reveals that the bride is also wearing yellow after the whole conversation about the wedding.
But not the same fucking dress. Like, that's different. A bridesmaid dress is always a color or a pattern. If your bridesmaids are all wearing blue, you can't be like, no one wear blue to the wedding. If they're wearing the exact same dress, it's like Michael Scott showing up to David Wallace's house wearing the same outfit as the caterers and having to change his shirt. That makes sense because it's the exact same outfit. You're just wearing the same color as the bridesmaids. The bridesmaids aren't going to be like,
right,
you're not supposed to wear yellow, because nobody would know that.
But that was the bride itself. That wasn't the bridesmaid. That was the bride.
That was the bride? Why is she wearing yellow? Okay, look, this is not tracking. This is not a great episode.
It's because she's marrying the man in the yellow hat from Curious George.
So that's the thing. And it's like, so if that's the bride and she's wearing yellow, you can't be mad at Whitney for wearing yellow also.
You get one color banned. You can't. White is all they get banned. You don't get to eliminate every color just because of what the bride wears.
And if so, you need to tip everyone off. You need to be like, hey, yeah, just so you know, I'm wearing
wedding.
yellow.
Nobody wore yellow but the bride and groom. Okay, then we know.
Greg, you've said you would love to if you were to get married, you want to have a Savannah Bananas themed wedding, correct?
No, fuck them.
The first thing I thought of when you said yellow, like groom wears yellow, I'm just thinking of a yellow tux. And then I was like, the Savannah Banana guy? Berg's the only person in the world who like utterly hates the idea of the Savannah Bananas, by the way.
It's because it's stupid.
Does not enjoy comedy baseball.
Berg sent us a clip the other day to be like, see, other people hate it. In the video, someone clears and says, hey, listen, everyone I know who's gone said they love it. Like, clear.
It looks so fun. I don't know what you would hate about it.
It's like the Harlem Globetrotters. Like, it's not like you're going to watch a sporting event. You're going for fun.
I mean, I don't like the Harlem Globetrotters either.
I would love to go to a Bananas game.
I think they're touring like Boston this summer, I think.
I imagine they're playing in Boston. Yeah, they're going to hit all the major cities.
They sold out Fenway.
They sold out Fenway, which is crazy.
The thing is, like, we always talk about it. It's nice when you have a joke set up and there's a payoff later and like we tie in loose ends and there's no joke that goes kind of wasted. And this show's trying to do that, but they're doing it in a way where every joke feels unnatural. Like they're just placing it in there. So we see the whole grab my purse and then Neil has the purse. Now we see, hey, don't wear white, wear the yellow dress. And now we see an instant like, oh, shouldn't have wore the yellow dress.
This show is just the lowest hanging fruit of writing for a sitcom in multiple instances of it.
Because they're doing the right thing. It's like the wrong way.
Like we'll get to like the main point of this episode soon. And it's just like, oh my fucking God, how many times does this need to be done?
I feel like instead of writing the scene and then like, we can put the joke here, they wrote the joke first and figured out how we can fit a scene around it.
That's what it felt like. It felt like they had a lot of jokes and like things like, oh, it would be funny if we said this, this, and this in the episode. And now it's like they're like almost fucking mad-libbing trying to get it in. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the very next thing that happens is we cut to the reception starting, and as she's walking to her seat, we hear the DJ go, let's get this party started, which is another like immediate like the unnatural thing she said in dialogue in the first scene about like, I feel like every time I go to a wedding, that's all. Like it happens exactly. You know what I mean? It's like, we get it. We get it. Sometimes the art is in the subtlety.
I kind of love the idea of Whitney Cummings just writing this show as a like weird prank. You know what I mean? Being like, I'm just gonna write like the worst sitcom ever because I'm so smart and funny. It would be funny to just write the worst sitcom. Like maybe someday she'll come out and be like, this was all a giant joke. But if you watch it seriously, this is
that's
so
some
fucking
Kaufman
bad
shit right there.
Right? Yeah, I would love for her to come out and just get pile driven by Jerry Lawler at one point and be like, okay, we're doing the Andy Kaufman.
She goes and sits at the table and she's with all her friends, right? Everyone we mentioned earlier, her boyfriend, Neil. So, and then we enter Mark. And you guys mentioned Mark before. And let me just say, Mark, who I feel this entire episode is just doing a really poor version of Barney from How I Met Your Mother.
Because Barney was charming and this guy isn't.
I will say this. Look, if they were setting out to make the cop the villain, they did a good job. But I will be goddamned if somebody this bad tries to reference Police Academy in a good way about themselves.
Right, I was so angry.
Yeah, you are not Gutenberg. You are not Tackleberry. You are not Kaczmarek. You are not Bobcat. You are not worthy of Police Academy. At least everything up to Mission to Moscow.
First thing we hear from him is him walking up to this table, saying hello to everyone and going, "Hey, Roxy, love the side boob." Like, that's not, you would never, ever say that to anybody.
It's armpit fat. How she talks.
It's all the same in the dark. And I was like, oh, all right. So are you that horny that like, hey, if it's dark, I'll play with a girl's armpit fat?
Ugh. Yeah, this guy's whole thing is that he's like so horny he can't function, which also, historically, bad fucking combination with police officers. Just throwing that out there.
We find out the reason he was late for the wedding, and not late, missed the wedding. He just showed up for the reception.
To be fair, I wouldn't say that late for the wedding. I'd say that just on time for the wedding.
He was apparently just at the station Facebooking all the bridesmaids to like get info on them to figure out which one he could try to have sex with. That's where we find out that two of them like Police Academy.
That's also weird too. Like, I think everybody here would admit to liking Police Academy, right? Those movies are great.
I love Police
Academy. Now, if you
Academy.
were to Facebook, I don't know Facebook, but like whatever social media else, do you think you'd find that?
Well, here's the weird thing.
Certainly not in 2011.
Facebook, no, but you gotta remember how much Facebook changed over the years. Remember when all your likes were there and you would like your movies and bands and interests?
Okay, I've never used Facebook, so.
It's changed so many times and I can't remember timelines. That was a really old feature of Facebook, but like, I feel more like 20 years ago, so I don't know if it was still really going on at this point. But you used to like things like that, like all your favorite movies and things, but that's not a thing anymore. But I don't know about 2011. So I don't want to just jump down their throat because it's possible that that was still a feature of it at the time, but it certainly isn't now.
Last year we got to meet Michael Winslow at Comic-Con.
I didn't take a picture with him, but yes, it was last year.
Did you guys see Steve Gutenberg recently during the LA fires helping people?
I did, yeah.
No, but that's nice to hear.
He gets interviewed and they don't know who he is.
Yeah, he goes like, there's a news camera and he's like, look, people have to like get down the hill. The people, they need to get out. A lot of talking. And the news reporter who's like 22 is like, and what's your name, sir? And Steve Gutenberg is so sweet. He's like, I'm Steve Gutenberg.
The actor?
He's so young. He has no idea who Steve Gutenberg is. This man has never seen Two Men and a Baby. He's got no fucking clue. And then clearly somebody in the headset is like, yo, that's fucking Steve Gutenberg. He's an actor. And then like halfway through it, he's like, we got to save these people. He's like, are you Steve Gutenberg, the actor? And Steve Gutenberg, again, to his credit, he's like, yes, I am. Anyway, we're trying to save these people. What a fucking hero.
So I haven't seen him in like 30 years. Did he age well or like?
He looks
could
great.
You tell it was him?
Yeah.
All right.
He has a quote that I don't remember exactly, but it fits for his career and it makes sense in this situation where he's like, it goes from we're looking for Steve Gutenberg to we're looking for a Steve Gutenberg type to we need the next Steve Gutenberg. Like that. He's like, that's how that stuff goes. He's like, and you just get like, that's like the cycle of like someone like him who was like so prominent for like a little run, like he had a stretch of a few years and then you just kind of
the goot
slowly drift away.
He does seem like, though, he did well. He became a good person. And he saved his money. So good for you, Steve Gutenberg. You'll always be a hero to me. He's great. And there's an episode of Party Down, too, where he's Steve Gutenberg now. That's very funny.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
They should make like a sequel to Three Men and a Baby. It's like got like three grandpas and a baby. And it's like the little girl they raised before now has a kid.
I love that so much, but I feel like only you and I will be at the theater for that, Ferg.
No, he'd be in some like Peacock original, like sitcom or something where it's going to be like him and like a couple other people from that era.
They've been trying to reboot Police Academy. This is not trying to be weird or political, but they keep trying to reboot Police Academy with like, we'll get some of the old cast in and we'll get some of the new people in and we'll do like a new thing. And every time they try to do it, some terrible police murder happens and they have to be like,
oh no,
we're holding back for a while. And they wait a couple years. They're like, we'll try it again. And then a terrible police murder happens. It's like fucking cursed.
It was tough. I remember Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which we covered Brooklyn Nine-Nine a long time ago. If you want to go and listen back to that, they struggled with the last season because like a lot of things were happening. I don't want to get too into the, that time, but like it was not a very pro-cop time in the country. Like, and they were like, we don't know how to navigate the season in a way that like we have to address issues, but we want to keep it funny. And, yeah, it gets tough to do stuff like that.
That was an awful time because Cops also got canceled, and I was really upset.
Oh, the show. I thought you were saying Cops got canceled.
No,
like, you're
the
canceled,
show.
bro. Yeah, no. They canceled the show Cops. Oh, because of the time. Well, we'll get into all that later.
Well, somebody got shot too, but I literally think like once a week about the episode of Cops where there's a zebra running through a Florida town.
I love that episode.
And people are running out of their apartments and the cop just yells, "There's a feral zebra!" Everybody's diving back into their apartments. It's like the greatest moment of TV ever.
Remember when we thought it was the coolest thing that some kid got arrested wearing an Offspring shirt like in the 90s?
Yeah.
So now it's at a point where it's time to like throw the bouquet. So all the girls get up and then also Neil because Lily's like, "Come on, Neil." And he follows, command. So that leaves Mark and Alex at the table for all of like 2 seconds. And then Mark says something else creepy. And he's like, "All right, we get it." And then like Mark gets up also, leaves Alex alone at the table for a second. And this blonde girl like heads over and sits next to him. It's like, "Excuse me, like, aren't you that guy who sold the big internet company?" Like, hi, I'm Alex. Yeah, have we met? "Yeah, I'm Sarah. We met at Jeff's birthday. A bunch of people are doing shots. You want to come?" He's like, "Oh, no, I have a girlfriend, so I can't really engage in any type of merriment."
It bugged me that this was the only introduction to him. That like, "Oh, you're the guy who sold that company." Yeah, okay. And then that's it on him.
Because she even goes, "Oh, yeah, you date that photographer girl who's really loud, right?" So now they found a way to tell us what both of them do in the scene. Like,
but then never mention it again. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they wrote the episode and like, "Oh shit, we need to mention what they both do for work." All right, have a girl run over and just bring up what both of them do for a living and then leave.
Yeah.
Also, this shitty tiny house doesn't scream, "I sold my internet company and now I'm loaded."
Yeah.
That's a good point too. Yeah, he doesn't seem like a tech mogul. He's living in like an apartment in whatever city they're in.
Yeah, I mean, maybe she didn't give like an accurate enough version of what he really did. But yeah, that would make him sound like he's a billionaire. And that's clearly not what we're seeing.
I mean, I guess you could sell your tech company for any amount of money and be known for selling a...
I don't know if it's addressed in this episode, but just from reading, the show is supposed to take place in Chicago.
I sold Ask Jeeves.
I also went back and looked, and you guys were right. Their bedroom is so big that it looks like a living room with a bed in it.
Even their bed, it has the high back. It looks like it was a couch. It looks like a couch bed. But I know it's not the same room, but I did notice they have a very strange bed.
To go back again, right after she says that whole, "Oh, you date that loud photographer girl," Whitney walks back to the table and she goes, "Honey, do you have those Pepto things? I just ate some scallops and they're getting a little chatty." And then Sarah walks off shortly after, like, everyone else returns from the bouquet situation. And we find out that Lily was able to get the bouquet with Neil's assistance, right? He said he set up a pic. So what, do you just jump in front of a girl or something like that?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, is that a football thing? But I didn't want to be like, what does that mean?
Well, setting a pic's a basketball thing. Yeah, you just stand in front of somebody so they can't move, basically. And
she's like yelling, "Enjoy another year of eHarmony, biatch." And I just felt like, to me, this goes back with her Motel 6 thing. I just thought it was her character's a little extreme for me.
She's my least favorite character on the entire episode.
Has anyone ever walked up to somebody that was a fucking person they didn't know and been like, "Fuck you, I'm dating somebody"? That's a weird thing people don't do.
No, that's how you get punched in the face at a wedding.
Right.
And then Mark returns, and again with the, "Ooh, she's currently under investigation." It's like,
dude,
all
fuck
these
this guy so hard.
Fuck off, dude.
All these characters are too much of characters, I think. I just don't think that any of them are like grounded in enough reality for me to believe that like these are people that I might know in real life.
And thankfully we didn't discuss them all, but he does about 500 cop puns in the scene alone, and it's just like, all right, we get it.
Fucking aggressive.
I compared Mark to Barney, right? Like with that kind of aggressive, like sexual prowess. But if you think of a How I Met Your Mother or a Friends, regardless of whether or not you're like a big fan of the shows, all of those shows like that have distinct characters in a friend group, they're still like relatable in a way, you know what I mean? Where I feel like in this show, they're trying to create this ensemble and like none of them feel like real humans.
Well, like a Barney is smooth. Like you get why his tricks work. This guy is just goofy and literally gives off SA vibes. Like,
all right, I think so. if Neil Patrick Harris didn't play Barney, we'd feel about that character the way we feel about this cop.
Sure.
I think casting is huge in that, yeah.
And because Barney's a fucking creep, like through and through.
For sure. I've only seen one episode and that guy sucks.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think just everybody knows Doogie Howser, right? So they just like kind of went with it, and it's, you know, it's cute, whatever. This guy, nobody knows who the fuck this guy is. He's just a creep, and that's just what happens.
He also creep with a gun and power, and it makes it so much worse. I mean, like, I looked ahead a little bit. They make him not a cop by the second season, which feels to me like a fucking writer's note where they were like, people don't fucking like this guy, and the cop thing is not helping.
So now as we're all sitting at the table, like this conversation comes up about something Lily read in Cosmo about like healthy relationships and like things that are done, which like evolves into this conversation about sex. All couples are, you know, with successful relationships are having sex at least 4 to 5 times a week.
This is when I gave up on the show.
You get Whitney with like a face full of cupcake going like, who has time for that? And then we get like the extra commentary from her other friends. So now the other one who's like recently divorced is saying, well, that's what happened with my marriage. Like Roxanne, she's like, you know, things started to fizzle out. We stopped having sex. Well, I stopped having sex. He continued to have sex with other people.
You know what the flaw with that line is, though? Earlier, she said she's paying alimony, which means he has a very good lawyer, or like,
yes, usually if you are the reason for a divorce, then yeah, you kind of get exempt from that stuff.
Yeah.
Or he gave the judge a very good spoken word speech, and the judge was like, you're my man, we're doing it.
And then you get Mark, who's like, well, you know, it's not natural to be like, you know, committed to one person, like monogamy and all that stuff. And he just keeps like referencing caveman times and what they used to do then. And this is another, like, I don't know. It's like, why do you keep referencing cavemen?
I hate all this shit. Also, like, cavemen died when they were like 17. Like, I hate this shit so much.
Yeah.
So I always thought it was interesting when people like, have you done the caveman diet? It's like, what, is that our beacon of health?
Yeah, it's like, you eat raw meat and you die by a pterodactyl ripping your lungs out at 14. Like, oh, it's a good diet. Then some shitty Chicago cop tries to fuck your girlfriend.
Is that part of the caveman? I didn't even see that. Where does it say that?
I think that would be keto, actually. I was wrong.
They're having this conversation. One of them goes, oh, look, they're going to do the cake. And they all look over. And you see the newly married couple going like, some of the cupcakes are missing. And then you see Whitney just sitting there like eating the cupcake like, uh-oh. And I'll say this. Now, I've been to weddings where cupcakes are being used in lieu of cake now. Like a lot of people do different things like that. Or the cake is fake. It's just for show. And then they give you some sort of a dessert. In fairness to Whitney, I can see making that mistake if it's like a go up and grab a dessert type of situation and it's a cupcake.
You see a tray of cupcakes, you think you're allowed to grab one for sure.
I'm going to give her the pass on that one.
Yeah, but they were with the cake and they were the same color.
There is no cake, though.
Yeah, there was. There was a cake. The cupcakes all surrounded the cake.
I think it was just a like cupcake tree instead of a cake.
No, I think there was a cake. I'd have to go back because I can't definitively say now. You're making me second guess myself.
Also, at most weddings, like unless it was an actual wedding cake, from what I noticed from like the last handful I've gone to, if you are doing some sort of an alternate dessert, you usually don't put them out until it's time for that.
Weird.
So you don't leave it on a table and just hope everyone gets the cue.
Yeah, but the bride doesn't normally wear yellow.
Yes, it is a very unconventional wedding.
I will say, though, temperament-wise, like at my wedding, as the person on this podcast right now who is married, if I had a cupcake thing and I walked by and you guys were all eating cupcakes, I would have laughed so fucking hard. I would not have been mad, and I can't imagine my wife being mad either. When like they fucking took cupcakes, of course they fucking did. And then you would have just continued on, because why does that matter?
After everyone finds out Whitney's eating the cupcake, it ends in the line I thought Joe was going to start the episode with, which is when Alex goes, wow, you're on fire tonight. What are you closing with? Blackface?
That's why I said white pattern. I was trying to go the opposite of the racist line.
This is the funniest line in the show, in my opinion.
He feels like he delivers this one. It says like one proper line delivery.
Yeah, just I wish he would stop smirking every time he tells a joke on the episode.
I feel like he thinks he needs to like look at the camera every time he says a joke. Like, huh?
Goes against his like natural instinct as like a stand-up comedian.
Now, is this guy completely canceled, or is he like Masterson? And
He's
Jim?
back
He's
already.
He's like back.
He has a podcast now, but I don't think they're like giving him.
He has a special too, I think.
There's an interesting thing now too, though, where like comedians will release their specials on their own on YouTube.
Yeah, it's becoming a bigger thing lately.
Versus like an HBO or a Showtime or whatever. So like you can be, if you have an audience, I think his last 2 specials probably came directly to YouTube because then
the problem with some of that stuff is when you do it direct to YouTube, if for whatever reason like your channel or your video gets demonetized, then you can get 80 million views on it and you're not going to see a dime. So like it's one of those things you have to be worrisome of because especially with a lot of stand-up comedy, most of it's not, unless you're like Nate Bargatze or like, one of the few that keep a totally clean act, Fluffy or something, there's a good chance you're going to say something that goes against their like natural like standards and practices on YouTube where they'll leave the video up, but they won't allow it to be monetized.
And it doesn't even take like it being a real TOS violation. If enough people just report it, they'll be like, oh, and do it automatically. If you don't like someone, you can really fuck them over.
As somebody who loves stand-up and also really loves dirty stand-up, it is insane to me how funny Nate Bargatze can be without
going there,
being dirty. Like, that's a real talent.
It is. It really is.
That's why he's like where he's at. He's now, I would say he's probably like the top clean comedian out there right now.
Not even clean. I think he was like by earnings, like in the top 3 recently, and he doesn't have a podcast. Like he's like one of the only ones who's just doing comedy.
As people on a podcast, I'm so jealous of him for not doing a podcast. Yeah. Good for you, man. Fuck yeah, get that money. And
I could be wrong about that too. If he has one, I've never heard of it. Anyways,
now by clean, do you mean he doesn't swear or he doesn't tell dirty jokes?
Both.
Kind of both.
How's that funny?
It works somehow. That's why he's so good. He's
hands down one of the funniest comedians out there.
I'll check it out.
Anyways, to get back into the show. So now we cut to like that night and Alex is in bed looking at his phone and Whitney's like heading into bed to join him. And he's saying, just got an email from Mark. Went home with the pregnant girl. He said he wants to know if that counts as a threesome. I'm like,
ew. What a fucking weirdo. This? Also, who emails something like that? You have phones.
I was going to say the same thing. You don't email your friends.
Yeah. Mark texted me.
Yeah, by 2011, that's a text message.
And what makes that funnier is, wasn't email kind of harder on a phone at that point?
It still is. I mean, yeah, but
texting is so easy.
God.
I can't imagine sending an email that wasn't for something business related at this point in my life.
Man, I don't like touching things as the subject as much as Joe seems to want to keep bringing it up. But man, I wish Chris D'Elia didn't have that line.
Yeah.
Didn't work for him there, did it? Yeah.
But yeah, that's such a, like, I mean, we've already kind of agreed that Mark's kind of a fucking shitty character.
Not kind of.
But like the idea of like, hey, I fucked this pregnant girl. Did I technically fuck the baby too? Like, ew. What the fuck?
Yeah, like, is he keeping stats? Does he have like lines where he's like, Cindy, Julie, Julie's baby? It's like, buddy, what are you doing?
Gross.
Does he call his dick his nightstick?
Just got another email from Mark. He said, found out the baby's going to be a boy. Wants to know if he's gay now.
I maced that baby.
So she gets in bed. She's like trying to like cuddle up to him and be like, hey, why are we having sex? And then he's like, your feet. Apparently too cold, which I think we've all been there. It is an uncomfortable moment when someone decides to put their cold feet on you.
This scene is the only scene that feels real to me. Between the like, your feet are cold and I had pork, you're like, that is very realistic. Like,
I don't understand. I've never heard pork being a like. Does that make you like too full other than normal foods? Like, I didn't get that joke. I've never heard pork not being a reason to have sex.
Hold on.
You eat ham nonstop.
Did you just hear what you said? You're not a pork eater?
Pork and ham are different things.
No, they're not.
Thing.
It's the same fucking thing.
They taste different, but it's still pork. They're all pig.
I will say this. If you said, Joe, eat all the ham and have sex, I'd be like, okay. If you said, Joe, eat pork chops and have sex, I'd be like, I don't think I can pull that off.
Time out. Nick, you take your headphones off for a second. I need to catch you up. Joe just said, and I quote, I'm not a big pork eater.
Ham is different than pork. It's the same animal. It's a different food.
You eat fucking pork almost daily. You eat more pork than anyone I know.
Ham is not pork.
Yes, it is.
Joe. Yes, it is.
No.
It is.
I disagree here wholeheartedly.
Any ham product, any pig product is pork.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not debatable. That's not debatable at all.
It's the same thing as like a burger and a steak are both beef, right?
Yeah, and the burger is good. The steak is boring. I get it.
Weird
Well, okay.
take, but yeah, it's like whether you're eating like chicken breast or chicken wings, it's still chicken. Like chicken's a weird one because the name is the same. It doesn't transfer over like the
It's
other
still
ones do,
poultry.
But ham is pink. It's not the other white meat.
Well, they rescinded that. It's not the other white meat anymore.
Well, I mean, I only exist 30 years ago, so I only follow those rules.
All right, so pork chop, pork, right?
Yep.
Bacon, pork.
Yes.
No, bacon's bacon.
No.
Fuck you.
No.
You're being very Gordo right now.
He's not on today. I have to hold the slack for him.
Oh man, there's people listening going, "Come on, Joe, we thought better of you." So yeah, so when she asked why, they're not having sex, he said because your hair's up and I eat pork. And she's like, no, I mean like more often, not right now. And then she goes, wait, what do you mean my hair's up? He's like, when your hair's up, you don't like to be touched or talked to. It's like, when was the last time my hair was down? 2 years ago?
Oh, God, I cannot get over how much I hate this concept for a sitcom plot because it's so overdone. It's so overdone. And at this point in 2011, it was so overdone. And I don't know. I really, really hate this concept.
I think like people's ears perk up when you talk about sex, right?
Well, yeah,
So-
I mean, it's a relatable thing. I get it. But guess what? There's a lot of relatable options out there. This is the low-hanging fruit. Like I said, it's so fucking
I'm not
easy.
saying I disagree. I'm just saying like on a standpoint of we're trying to debut this new show. We have this new leading girl who we think is very attractive and very funny. Let's make episode 1 about sex and put her in sexy outfits because that's going to get eyeballs on the show. And then maybe, then they'll love the characters and they're going to love the show. But this is going to be a great way to get people to like pay attention up front. That's how it feels.
I'm with Nick. I hate that, it's Cosmo and we've been together so long, but we don't have sex anymore. It's like the worst fucking trope.
Not only that, from what we've learned about this character in this brief time, she doesn't seem like the kind of person that would be bothered by something somebody read in Cosmo.
That's true
Very
too.
good point.
Yeah, it's like against her character almost.
And not only that though, when the Cosmo article came up during the wedding, she didn't have any like reaction like, "Oh no, is my relationship messed up?" She was just like kind of there. It was like they should have set it up at the wedding that she was nervous. She just went and ate a cupcake.
Yeah, she should have already been a little bothered by it. Now she's worried though. And she's like, oh, like this is what happened to Roxanne. This is what happened to my mom. With all three of, I guess her mother has been divorced 3 times now. She's like, I don't want to end up like my mom. Like she has 7 parents. It's like, I thought you said she had 7 therapists. Yeah. She has 14 things telling her she's pretty. And I'm like, again, that's
I
like,
fucking hated this joke so much.
it's the, you know what? It's one thing to like tell a joke that's clearly like, it's the, you know what I think it is too, especially with this one was it's a clear, like yuck type of joke, but you need someone to ping pong it off of. Like he has to do I thought you said she had 7 therapists. So now it feels like even more scripted, like in that, like he has to like set up the joke for her. Or,
It's also like they're not fucking Martin and Lewis, right? They're not like a comedy team doing stuff back and forth. They're just like, I thought your mom's had 7 psychiatrists. Does she have 7 psychiatrists? Is that sex for her too? Anybody see my neatly trimmed beard? It's like, okay, Crystalia, thanks for playing.
so now she's asking him, do you know what Sunday is? He's like, yeah, it's our 3-year anniversary. You knew that? We haven't even planned anything. She's like, we did something good last year, right? He's like, yeah, you took Tylenol PM in the AM. And she's like, well, I mixed up the bottle.
We still had sex though. You still raped me. Crystalia's like,
That was the
"Yes, I
other thing.
did."
I'm like, oh no, stop giving it. So we find out that she fell asleep because she took the wrong Tylenol and he still fucked her.
Funny guys. Hey, I'm glad we're still here. Right?
That's a rough joke to throw in anything, but like, boy.
At any
man.
time too. That's not even like, oh, that aged poorly. That
Yeah.
that was never normal. Yeah.
It's like in Revenge of the Nerds when like he tricks the girl into like having sex with him and he
When he's, like,
basically
Darth
raped
Vader?
her, but it's like oh, but it's Lewis and they're nerds. It's funny. It's like that joke was funny at the time, didn't age well. This
Right.
joke never works. Like he drugged his wife. Like
Are all Crystalias as good as you? Oh god.
she's like, well, I want to do something good for our anniversary this year then. And then she's like, just stay in bed for a second because you're going to get a storm of sexiness coming your way. And then she like gets out of bed and heads to the closet and she's like looking for something sexy to toss on, I guess. And like doesn't have anything like nice. She has like black shorts and all this stuff. And then she pulls out a hammer and like kind of does a and like the crowd fucking dies. And I'm like,
they lose it at the hammer.
Yeah.
You know what I love about this scene is she holds a hammer for like 30 seconds. I was watching the clock ticking and being like, I'm so glad that I don't have to take any more notes while this clock ticks. Like, she's holding the hammer for a minute. Fuck it, let's keep going.
Like, when a live studio audience cracks up at a joke like that clearly isn't funny, do you think they feel compelled because the applause came on?
Yeah, the sign's on, like.
And it's like tourists who were like, we're doing a thing, we're part of it.
I think that audience laughter is piped in post from a different time that they laugh.
So here's the thing too, yeah. Live studio audience doesn't necessarily mean they still don't put canned laughter in the episode as well. Yeah. That crowd could have sat there in silence the entire time. And then
they might have.
They should just hire the one girl who like goes, woo, when Tim Allen's shirt comes off to be on every studio audience for every show ever. Like that should be that woman's job. Imagine if this
was, you mentioned Kevin could fuck himself earlier. Imagine if the show secretly was more like this. So now like she goes in and picks up the hammer and it's like... this is for raping me on our anniversary last year.
Just bashes that dildo's brains in. No one would be mad. Yeah.
She could have just walked out naked, but let her hair down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also his weird thing where it's like, you're not hot anymore. Your hair's up and your feet are cold. But like, dude, come on.
See, in fairness, I think he's saying that that's her cue. Like that she's not interested. Not so much that he doesn't find her attractive when her hair's up.
Oh, she's got a ponytail and glasses and paint on her overalls.
Oh, yeah, but that's not what he's saying. He's saying when you put your hair up, it's more like, I'm not in the mood. She doesn't find anything to put on, gets back to bed, he's like, what happened? Like, she's like, the storm is sexy is probably going to come through more like tomorrow-ish.
This is also the funny thing, too, where it's like, I do feel like this is real, where it's like, well, I wasn't sexy, where it's like, you didn't have to change anything. Like, most guys are just going to be like, like,
right.
Sucks. Like, we don't need you to dress up like fucking Andre the Giant. Like, we don't care about that.
That debate is, I've always felt this way personally, and I don't know if you guys are any different. Lingerie is more for the girl than it is the guy.
Yeah, it's a lot more work.
The girl, I think, likes how she feels or looks in it and feels more confident and like feels more sex. But most guys, listen, not to be Mark, but like the caveman and myself, like, naked good. Like, I don't need you in other stuff. Like, I'm really into naked. I don't like, isn't the point to take it off? Like, so what are we adding things on for again?
Jay like boobs.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
No like underwire.
Me want see boob. Yeah. Lingerie cover boob.
Your body look like doily. Me no sexy anymore.
Durka. What's the dude from Ghost or whatever? But the whole thing too with this whole like, hey, we have to do something for our anniversary on Sunday, and then her going in there and coming back and be like, oh, maybe tomorrow. It's not your anniversary. Why did that whole part of the scene even happen? Like,
why did this whole fucking episode happen?
The next scene, Whitney, who we now know is a photographer, is doing a weird photo shoot with her friend Lily in the living room because we have to see her and do the photography stuff, I guess.
We have to know she has a job. This is the thing I hate about sitcoms. This shit happens all the time where it's like, we must show our worth. This is their career. But like, you could just tell me Whitney's a photographer and I'd go, okay. I never once need to see her holding a camera. I believe you.
And like, couldn't we have put her like, if she's a photographer, right? Like by trade. I know not every photographer has their own studio, but like, if you're doing a shoot, even with your friend, should you at least have like a white backdrop and like a light or something like that? Even if you propped it in your apartment to do the shoot, not just like my friend's going to be sexy on my couch for her blog.
I will say this, as somebody who has a very close friend who is a professional photographer, they are just shooting all the time. Like, that is just a thing. And if you're around them, you have to just sort of be okay with it because
but like, this was with purpose. Like,
but this does seem like with purpose. Yeah.
She's not at Lily's house. Lily came over to get her pictures taken for her new blog that she's doing as a food critic.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what she's doing with food though.
It could be cake farts.
Oh God.
And for those of you who are keeping track, not the first episode where cake farts has come up.
Things in my brain I wish I didn't know about. Like number one.
So when she's doing these pics, because he's like going like real over the top with some of these poses, Whitney's like, "You're a food critic, not a Kardashian." And I just thought, like, how funny is it that like nearly 15 years later, and that's still like
there's still a punching bag. Yeah. Yeah.
Like as much like Joe will usually get on jokes that get dated and stuff, and it's like making fun of the Kardashians is now like we're on like a real run here where it still works.
Those idiots are still famous for no reason 15 years later.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
She's going, "So you and Neil never go more than 4 or 5 days without having sex?" She's like, "No. I work very hard at keeping our sex life good. I do Kegels every day. I'm doing them right now." Oh, all right. That's a weird thing to tell your friend in the moment.
I mean, I guess if you could just do them though, like there aren't a lot of exercises like you can do
At all times? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm flexing my butt right now.
I don't.
Doesn't do anything.
It's gonna be a nice tight butthole.
Well,
There's your clip.
Berg's butthole Kegels workout tape.
What was the Suzanne Summers thing that was like was it Thigh Master?
Thigh master.
Yeah.
Ferg's got a butt master he's been working on. You can't see the screen.
this is we referenced this earlier. This is when Roxanne shows up and just like runs right in, grabs a bottle of wine. Mind you, this is not her house, and just starts drinking it right out of the bottle, despite being told like, "Oh, the glasses are right over." Oh, never mind.
LOL alcoholism.
And this is where she's getting into like, "Oh, being a single woman is so embarrassing."
Look, I'm usually pro lol alcoholism, but this is not funny.
And saying how this guy that she's dating says that her chi is a little rough. She's like, "You know what? I'm 33. My chi is tired. Can you be this like old and like disgruntled at 33?
I feel like if we were 33, we would say that, you know.
Sure, but as all of us are at 39 right now.
Hey, no.
Come,
Oh, you guys are
quite
38.
yet.
man.
All right, young buck at 38.
Getting close, but not quite there.
Yeah, but still, like at 39, you're like, look, I'm not one of the people who's like 33 is a kid. But like, I don't know. Once you hit 30, like it's all the fucking same until you're 60.
I would say like as we are all like on the road to 40, there's a little bit more of like, whoa, getting older, gotta like hit certain bench. Like there's certain things like I want to start like looking towards as like we've hit this milestone in life. At 33, I did not feel like this ticking time bomb, like
No.
life's over, like I need to get settled up and everything like that. It just seems a little early.
But I guess none of us are also paying alimony at 33.
She's talking about like all these dudes that she's dated, and then it's like I even dated a guy who had a screensaver of a baby on his computer, and it wasn't even his baby. And at the same time, you have Lily go, "That's sweet," and Whitney goes, "That's a pedophile."
What? This show, man.
And Crystalia was like, just walked out of the scene.
She says to Whitney, "Oh, anyways, you left me a message. I didn't listen to it. What's going on?" She's like, "Oh, well, my anniversary's coming up, and I just want to do something good." And Lily's like, "How about go to Color Me Mine?" I had to look this up, by the way. I don't know. Did you guys know what Color Me Mine was?
I had to look it up too.
It still exists. It's basically plaster fun time for adults.
Yeah, it's like paint night, but it's like pottery.
But like wine moms,
Oh.
like let's all go paint and have fun.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's just all gonna paint the ceramic elephant. Like that's all this thing is.
It's like, we'll have some wine and we come home, we can put a plant in it.
Is there like an equivalent to like a lot of these girls have like those like paint nights where they drink wine and they paint a picture and stuff like
See, that's what I imagined when you said it.
it's
like,
yeah, it's
paint
like
night,
that.
like-
It's they're painting like plaster items though. Like what do we have? Do we have like what's the guy equivalent of that?
We don't. We just
football.
No, I think it's those axe throwing places, I think is like the equal equivalent.
Yeah, but that's pretty like everyone. That's a big date thing too.
Yeah, that's not just dudes.
I will say I always wanted to do that, but it was like parties of 9 only. You're like, who the fuck has 9 people who wants to go throw axes? It's Sunday and I'm bored. Like, how dare you not let me go and drink beer and throw axes?
Well, next time we get a big group together, I would gladly go and meet up for some axe throwing. I've never done it.
I would also paint some pottery too.
Can I throw axes at pottery?
All right. Well, we'll find out if there's a Color Me Mine that's near us, and then we'll try to pair that up with an axe throwing.
So I feel like we've had this discussion before. Does Plaster Fun Time still exist?
They all say temporarily closed.
Oh,
That's
damn.
strange.
All right.
Never a good sign.
Not a good sign.
And then the plasterfuntime.com website is currently undergoing maintenance.
Yeah, they're gone. R.I.P. Plaster Fun Time.
Maybe they're revamping for a resurgence. We'll find out.
I'm calling it.
Listen, man, the market is open. We can open our own Plaster Fun Time.
Oh, dude, plastered fun time. You get drunk
Boom.
and you paint. This could be it.
We won't have to do this podcast anymore.
Why do you guys keep making it sound like this is like a terrible chore?
I'm just kidding.
So after that's recommended, the other one's going, how about OxyContin? It's just like, is there anything that's in between those two things? And then it just cuts to them at a sex shop.
I don't feel like the in-between of painting plaster and
OxyContin
doing hard heroin-like drugs is sex shop, but sure, why not?
They're all in the store, and the girl who works there walks up, and it's like, something I can help you with? He's like, oh yeah, wow, you look cold. She's, wearing like whatever outfit. It's like, I'm interested in becoming a sex goddess. I'll do anything except latex, feathers, because bird flu apparently, and it's like, oh, and no underwire. It's like I'm leaning on a fence, which is definitely another thing, like definitely plucked out of stand-up.
That's definitely a stand-up line, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like, I don't feel like bird flu works because there's no way those feathers are, like, from a bird. You know what I mean? Like, those are synthetic feathers.
Oh, kind of like the rabbit's foot Jay had that was not a real rabbit's foot.
This is like from 3+ years ago now, but this has been proven factual that they've used real
Recently
rabbit
brought
feet
up again by a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could, I would do anything to be able to find an old, I think I've thrown them all away though, but the old rabbit's feet I used to have.
Definitely wasn't a pork feather, though.
No.
Maybe a ham feather, though.
Maybe.
A ham feather, I could still feel sexy. A pork feather, I'm too tired.
Them being in this place brought me back to like us being 16 and going in the like sex shop
Yes.
just because it's like, oh look, we can get in here now.
Giggling at dildos. Like
Buying copies of Beetlejuice because why
Beetlejuice.
fucking not? Yeah. Starring Sicky Nicky.
Beetlejuice. I haven't thought about that in a long time.
That's gotta be,
Yeah,
gotta be the
me
funniest
either.
porn parody name ever.
Not just that. I remember there was one like, was there one on Newberry Street? I feel like that's the one that like this scene is reminding me of.
There was the erotic cake store on Newbury Street.
That's still there.
Is it still there?
Oh no, that's on Mass Ave right off.
Yeah, it's
Newbury
on.
Street.
It's off the.
Ferg's like, it's actually right now.
I drive by it
their
every
chocolate
day.
cream's really good.
Trying to remember, who was it that brought up cake farts earlier?
It also knows where the erotic cake store is.
I gotta go, guys.
Next one's free on the punch card. The girl at the store is recommending to Whitney, like, hey, have you tried role play? You put on a costume, like you do like, a whole situation. And they're like, oh, what about this cowboy one? And then the toy gun it's like, yeah, I'll help you get into character. She's like, okay, I'm not Daniel Day-Lewis. It's like, I just want to get laid.
Do you think Daniel Day-Lewis sometimes is just like, I wish I never like became what I became? Like, why couldn't I just be a fucking actor? Why do I have to like be in a wheelchair for 6 months to like get into my role?
Well, it works because now like Daniel Day-Lewis is known as just being so fucking good at acting that he's now the example you use when you need to be like, hey, who's so fucking good at acting?
But also because he's a method actor, right? Like he has to like be in it. He was actually working on the Crystalia story, and he'll now be in jail for the next 25 years.
Peel back the curtain. Before we started the episode, I'm like, I don't want to touch on it too much. And Joe took that as, I'm going to go every 5 fucking minutes.
You had to have known this would happen with Joe.
Yeah. Yes, which is why I tried addressing it before the episode started.
Have you forgot Casper Jackson exists?
Casper Jackson came to me. I didn't create him.
Casper Jackson came somewhere.
Did you guys find it strange that the first like sexy outfit they thought of as cowboy? It's like, I don't find that super sexy.
Yeehaw.
Like dusty trails. Like, I don't know, yeah. You want some chili from the pot? Like, ooh, sex time.
Listen, I mean, it's just like Halloween costumes, right? There's a lot of things that I wouldn't find inherently sexy, but if you make a sexy version of it, like, sure,
Now, though, they just have like too many adjectives to it. It's like sexy zombie nurse who works at the news station. You're like, I don't know what we're doing here.
Look at me, I'm sexy Urkel.
Do you want some pussy? Cheese. Like, no, I don't want that Urkel sexy.
Gross.
That's again, you took it too
The
far.
line.
Why?
The line. Why is a good question, Joe. Why?
So, we cut to that night, and Alex walks into the apartment, and you see like the living room's all like candlelit, and we see Whitney dressed as a sexy nurse. He's like, "Hey," and she's in character, like, "Hello there. Are you here to see the doctor?" "I don't know. Am I?" "Yes, you are, anniversary boy. I'm gonna need you to sign in." And then like he goes to like just like basically just fucking go right towards her, and she's like, "Nope." She's like, "I'm gonna need to see your insurance card." This, I'll say, I think there was a turn in this. I thought the scene was pretty funny.
This was funny. I agree.
When he like goes to like
This was good.
pull out his fake, he's like, "Okay, here's my insurance card," and just like pantomimes like doing it. And she's like, "Come on, do it for real." And he's like, "Okay." And he like takes his wallet out, like has to give her his actual insurance card.
That's funny, but what he's like, "Do you really need my insurance, my employer info?" But like, I thought you were a rich guy who sold your company. You don't have a job anymore.
Well, we don't know that. We know that he did we don't know if that means that he now like lives as a billionaire. I think we've kind of established that's probably not the case.
He's into tech. Usually when they sell, they go and work on their next tech project.
Yeah. Now she has his actual card and
Puts it in her boob. I think it was all just, that joke was all for that one thing, was her putting in her boob.
yeah, well then he's going to say like, "I'm pretty sure the doctor has all my stuff on file." So he goes, "I'm pretty sure doctor," and she goes, "Quinn." He goes, "Medicine woman?"
I laughed so hard at this because your mom loved that show.
Love Dr.
She
Quinn,
did.
Medicine Woman. Yeah.
I've seen so much Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman just at your mom's house. We walk in talking and she goes, "Quiet," because she's watching Dr. Quinn and there was a plot happening. We'd be like, "Oh, sorry."
Now, do you think this joke aged out though? Because I think
Yes.
we're probably the last generation that knows what that
Oh,
means.
yeah.
1,000%. I think anybody
Yeah.
who was our age 15 years ago when this came out has no idea what that is or who Jane Seymour is or any of that. Yeah.
But for 15 years ago, and keep in mind that like at the time and like they're a little older than us, so like the joke fits then, but yeah, to watch it back now, yeah, it's lucky that we're the ones who are watching and remember it. But he's like, "I think Dr. Quinn has all my info already." He's like, it's like, "I doubt it. I'm gonna need you to have a seat and fill out all these forms." And she hands him like the folder. And then he opens up and you see it's legit like 10 pages of like documentation that he needs to fill out.
This just made me angry.
I liked it. I'm like, if you're going to role play, fucking get into it. If you want this, you got to work for it.
I thought it was funny because it makes her seem almost silly in a way, like, because she's trying to be sexy but doesn't quite know how to do this the right way. So she's like taking it a little too far with the insurance card and all the paperwork.
She got what she wanted though. She wanted them to have sex and she got him riled up. So it's like, you should have just did it.
When he opens the folder and takes out like 8 pages and just like looks around, I thought that was hilarious.
This may be the best, like, actual comedic scene of the whole episode.
Oh yeah, easily.
So now she's saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to go check on these files, but sometimes I get so lost in there." Like he's like, "I might have to call you in a minute." So she goes into the bedroom. He goes to like chase after. He's like, "I think I got that file you're looking for." And then like he's trying to take his pants off as he's running to the bedroom and gets tripped up on it and just flies back and just like fucking cracks his head on the corner of the counter and like knocks himself unconscious.
This is what I said. Is he dead? Is that like the plot of the show?
Or he's like in a coma and this is his whole, like, recollection.
I would have respected the show way more if they just killed him off in the first episode and the whole show is her just like...
Imagine, I kept saying how they were forcing jokes and then like the callback was like 10 seconds later. Imagine if this was the callback to him sleeping with her while she was asleep, like the year before on their anniversary. Imagine like she opens the door, sees him like knocked out like this, and she's like, "Oh, well,
Role play.
my turn." But yeah, no, she sees him now, she opens the door, sees him like laid out on the floor. And at first she thinks like he's just like playing dead for like the sake of like the role play. And then when she like goes to give him mouth to mouth or whatever, notices he's like actually out cold and like panics. And we get that immediate cut to him now being, rushed into the hospital like after an ambulance ride.
This isn't your typical concussion where you get knocked out, you get right back up. He's like
Right.
brain damage level, like in a small coma.
Yeah, he's like in a coma. Yeah.
I also feel like the miss here was like there should have been blood.
Yeah.
Like when she came in, she'd have been like, "What are you doing?" Like, "Oh, blood. You like, I have to draw your blood." Like, if he hit his head that hard and knocked himself out and stayed knocked out, I feel like there should have been some blood.
Sure. I just feel like it's a tough visual gag. I'm trying to think, have we ever seen blood in a sitcom?
I was just going to say, I don't think that's allowed.
Like in a multicam, I don't know if I've ever seen blood in any context.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I don't think so.
And I'm gonna take single camera stuff out of it. I'm thinking of like the classic, like what we're watching here on the multicams.
It's single cam.
Did we cover Reno 911? I feel like that's the only show I can remember.
But that's not a multicam. That's single cam.
That's single cam, yeah, because it's like documentary
Mrs.
style.
Brown's boys, did she bleed or he bleed when he went and fell over the couch?
No, there was like the electrocution scene, but yeah, no, like I can't think of ever seeing blood in a fucking TV show now.
Like I'm saying, I think that crosses the line into the next, like, what do they call it? The TV 13.
Like the ratings or whatever.
Yeah, into a different rating.
TVMA or whatever.
Wow. So you know what's crazy? So I just looked up. Do any sitcom episodes have blood in them? The first one listed is Seinfeld, The Blood. In this episode, Kramer donates 3 pints of blood to save mortally injured Jerry, which is a comedic plot point. And the second thing listed is Whitney faking it.
How bizarre is that?
Right? Roxanne and Mark decide to donate blood. It's just blood donations when it's allowed, I guess. But that's fucking
I guess
wild.
you see it in The Office too when Michael's giving blood with Jenny from The Office.
Yeah.
I mean Jenny from The League. Type ocean spray.
Another single cam The Office.
That is single cam, yeah.
Anyways, yeah, so now we're walking into this hospital. He's being taken to a room. She's talking to a nurse, played by like Loni Love. She's been in a bunch of things. I flagged her right away. And I was like, what do I know her from? And I read her whole thing. I'm like, I've just seen her before.
They're just one of those people who has like 1,001.
Yeah, she has a bunch of credits, but there's nothing like that. I was like, oh, she's that person. Like, it wasn't that at all. It's also important to note that like Whitney's still wearing the little nurse hat. So like she's having this conversation. You see her in the little hat. And she's concerned. She's like, is he going to be okay? Yeah, we'll take care of him. What's your relation to the man? Oh, he's my boyfriend. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Then you're not allowed past this. You have to be a spouse or an intimate family member to go like beyond this area. She's like, so you can sit in the seating area. She's like, well, we've been together for like 3 years, so we're basically married. She's like, you're either married or you're not.
I get this as like a legality thing, but like, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm sure it's to just put like a hard like close on it to not open up the can of worms to like who ends up back there for different people, but I get it.
The way this looks like he got a hooker and he tried to rob her and she knocked him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is like to prove that she deserves to be back there, like flashes the sexy outfit to this nurse, like nurse to nurse. And she's like, nurse to stripper, have a seat. And then we like flash forward and we see her in the waiting area. And now the whole gang showed up as this always happens in sitcoms. Anytime someone's in a hospital, obviously you call all your friends and they sit in the waiting room with you.
Yeah. My boyfriend bumped his head. Can 6 of you show up to the hospital? It's just like
that is a sitcom trope. That's not just like this show is bad writing.
No,
trope.
yeah, it happens in a ton of shows.
I know.
It's always like that. It's same thing with like, oh, she's having a baby. And it's like, and all my friends are coming. Like, that's not at all how that goes. Now they're all sitting with them like, it's okay. They said it's just a concussion and gonna be okay. It's like, he's not fine. He's there and he's all alone. It's like, it's not like he's in a hospital room, but like, I don't know. I get being concerned, right? And in that moment, being worried about him when everything happened. But once it's revealed, like, oh, he's okay now, like it's just a concussion. The way that she's like overly emotional right now, it's almost like we've already ruled out the worst. You don't have to worry like this anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like the entire experience has gotten to her. It's not, so she's still emotional. It hasn't come down yet.
Yeah. I mean, it could be part of that. It's just the way that she's like scared for him, like as if he's a kid. Like he doesn't have his pillow, like all these things.
That was just a, hey, audience, look how close they are. Like type of thing. That wasn't a like something that needed to happen or would happen in reality. But, you should always show, don't tell. And this is them telling you.
Yes. But this is because they play that couple throughout the episode that's almost like they're both too cool for school. So now we're seeing a little real emotion out of them, or out of her at least. I mentioned how she mentions his special pillow. And then Mark's like, oh, if you want, I can get it for you. She's like, oh, that'd be awesome. It's in the bedroom. He's like, all right, but if I end up in your underwear drawer.
It's me, the creepy cop
this
again.
guy's so hard. What a fucking nightmare.
So luckily Neil's like, okay, I'll go. She's like, all right, great. And Lily's like, while you go, can you grab her some pants too? Because obviously she's still in this nurse's outfit.
But at this point, the cop's like, oh, and when this is all over, we have to make fun of him for having a special pillow. And I'm like, see, I would have liked that character. You don't have to have all the weird, like, I'm a fucking sexual deviant stuff. It's like,
yeah, just be part of the gang. Yeah. So right here is at this moment is when Whitney's mom runs in. Whitney's mom is played by Patty Morris, who, like,
yes!
obviously we would all know from Malcolm in the Middle. And come to find out, soon enough, we'll know her from the new Malcolm in the Middle.
Wait, Jane Kaczmarek, you mean?
Who did I say? Oh,
Patty
you know
Morris.
what I said? I said her fucking character's name.
Yeah, I was like,
Patty Morris. It's my bad. I said her character's name.
Also, RP Gene Hackman. She's got a great role in Uncommon Valor, one of my favorite films.
Interesting note is, did you guys see that originally she was not the mom? It was Beverly D'Angelo.
Yeah, it was Beverly D'Angelo, Ellen Griswold.
Filmed the episode. She filmed the pilot, and then they reshot. They gave her the Danny Tanner, and they reshot with the new mom.
I think I would have liked that. As much as I love her and Malcolm, like, Beverly D'Angelo is just awesome.
So, like, and listen, she's fine in this episode. So, like, I don't have any, like, we don't get that much of the character to be, like, one way or another, I suppose. I think she's fine. But yeah, I wonder, like, what did Beverly D'Angelo do that was, like, so off that they're like, this doesn't fit?
Maybe she had other obligations. Didn't that new, the newest vacation movie come out and she had the cameo in that?
Maybe, but Jane Kaczmarek, I'll say, aesthetically, I guess is a more believable mother for Whitney.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they were going
That
with.
might be it, yeah. It could have been something as simple as Beverly D'Angelo having another commitment come up or something like that, too. Like,
It sounds like they just cut her out. Like, she got fired from the show from what I saw. Like, it wasn't, but who knows?
maybe she was like, this show is dumb.
As Team Griswold, I'd like to think that she was just like, this is fucking stupid. I'm going back to vacation.
Just going to vacation.
When she runs out and she's saying, like, what happened? And Whitney's giving her, like, the situation. Oh, he hit his head on the counter. He has a concussion. And then she looks over at Neil. She's like, is he going to be okay, doctor? And mind you, Neil is Indian. So she basically just assumed he was a doctor for that reason alone. I'll say this, and this is kind of where I was getting into, like, the Tale of Two shows earlier, where I thought, like, a lot of the setups were super forced and, you know, the dialogue seemed unnatural. Here we have, like, the funny scene where she's trying to be sexy that led to this incident in the hospital, and things are tightening up. Even Mark's less insufferable, except for the whole, I'm going to go through your underwear drawer. But here, it was done smart, right? Mark was being creepy, so Neil's like, you know what? I'll go get the pillow. So now there's a reason that he's standing up and is the only one standing near Whitney at the time where the mom comes in. So now when she walks in and she assumes that he's the doctor, it's like everything was set up in a way that makes sense, which I feel like was heavily lacking earlier in the episode with jokes. Here, I thought was a really smart way to put it together.
Well, maybe it's because, you know, this is the first time Chris isn't around. Maybe he's what makes the show suck.
I'd like if he was holding one of those old-timey doctor bags. And she was like, doctor, what do you have in your purse?
He could have been holding, like Lily's bag or something too, yeah. But yeah, no, I just thought that was like, I was like, they're figuring out how to write for for a show right now.
I just like that he's like, you've met me 3 times. Last time you thought I was the valet.
And she didn't even, like, get it when he was saying this. Like, oh boy, could I have used you earlier?
She's blocking in an ambulance.
I feel like she doesn't fit in this role, and maybe that's why it didn't work either for Beverly D'Angelo, where, like, it's just, she's not someone I see being this kind of mean.
Yeah.
I mean, Beverly D'Angelo, if you think back to, like, when she was on Entourage, like, I think played a kind of character that could work here. If she played the mom kind of that way.
Yeah.
Do you know who this feels like would be the character? I can't remember her name to save my life right now, but it's Wendy Maulik, I think her name is. The woman who's in, like, Just Shoot Me, and she's in a million shows we've covered where she's kind of like the other dark-haired woman of the same age who's always mean. Or like that makes sense to me for her to be the angry, bitter mom, but like I just don't see it with Jane Kaczmarek.
Yeah, it could have been an aesthetic thing. She looks like she could possibly be her mom. They're both brunettes. I know that's not that much of a determining factor, but Beverly D'Angelo doesn't look like she'd be this girl's mom.
Kind of famously blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Now she's like, hey, is your father here? And Whitney's like, oh, wow, it only took you 30 seconds. It's a new record. And she's getting into like the father and like, obviously, she's just using this as an opportunity to like kind of knock him and like.
I find it strange that she's shitting on the dad because admittedly, she's been divorced 3 times. So you'd think she's, ruined 3 other men's lives. She wouldn't focus so much on the OG.
Yeah. Well, in this case, and I mean, if you're going to be talking to your daughter, I mean, the one that's going to be more significant, I guess, is the father. The other 2 wouldn't be as like, it wouldn't make sense for them. So
I will say too, on a pilot though, if we're going to shit on a character so much, maybe we meet him.
you will eventually meet him.
Right, but on the pilot.
No, but that happens a lot of, you mentioned characters that like, he's not going to be in every episode character one way or another. So
Sure, but for instance, the mom having 5 minutes shitting on the dad, you write a pilot not knowing if you'll be able to have a second episode. Maybe we have 2 minutes of the dad showing up at the hospital too?
well, like, it wasn't that long ago when we did Shifting Gears, right? And we hear about her husband and like, you knew you'd eventually see him, but it didn't happen in that episode.
Another great show we covered, Shifting Gears.
He's like, well, it's not my fault that he's selfish and, he doesn't want to support you the way that I do. He's not a bad guy. He's just a horrible person and he owes me a check. Whitney's telling her mom, like, they're not letting me in because we're not married. It's stupid. Like, I told you should get married. She's like, no, you told me to marry him because if he cheats on me, I'll get half of his stuff.
Not if you're the drunk friend.
I think about this sometimes, right? Where like, I'm sure everyone can relate to this, right? Like, say you're tomorrow, you have to give half your stuff to your significant other. Like, how bummed they would be about most of that half of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like we have like garages full of Corvettes.
Oh, sick. All these action figures.
Right. I was like,
Enjoy all my Halloween
10,000
decorations.
black t-shirts. Cool. I'm so excited.
So right around here is when the nurse pops out and is like, oh, Miss Cummings, you can go see Alex now. So she runs into the room. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. The whole idea was so stupid. He's like, no, it wasn't. He's like, no, it was a bad idea. Now you're stuck here. And I was out there and that scary nurse wouldn't let me in. And I realized that I want to be stuck with you for the rest of my life. And she gets on a knee and she goes like, Alex, will you marry me? And he like sits there and goes, no. She's like, oh, thank God.
I didn't love this.
This is another thing that is kind of a trope too. The forcing it, the other person realizing that they're forcing it and being like, no, I know this isn't what you want. It's so fucking stupid.
For her to like propose and then be like, oh, thank God he said no. Like you brought it up. And he's saying like, look, I know that marriage is scary to you. So, we're just going to wait till it isn't anymore. And I love you so much that I'm not going to marry you. And I actually thought like, as much as I like was critiquing him earlier in the episode for like being like giggly faced the whole time, like I thought here did a lot better of a job. And this felt like a more authentic conversation.
That felt to me like that whole line was just trailer bait. Like that would be what they'd put in the commercial.
Well, the will you marry me part,
Yeah.
sure. But I think his reaction felt good. Like, I think the way he is explaining the thing to her afterwards and why he's willing to wait.
I mean, that's like the synopsis of the show if you read it, isn't it? It's like they're referred to as like the happily unmarried couple.
Yes, but it's tough because like I don't know, like without like the benefit of going back in time, I don't know if that's how the show is advertised or if that's just kind of like what it became known as. She's just saying how like, she's just sorry and she just thought things were starting to fizzle and she really like wants this relationship to work and that's why she got so worried. He's like, no, he's like, don't worry. He's like, the best part of like being in a relationship a little bit longer is that, essentially that you can get comfortable and, that you can wear hoodies and keep your hair up and all that stuff. He doesn't really care about, I mean, I'm sure he cares about having sex, but essentially like, I guess it's often talked about like the idea of like the negatives of a relationship, getting too comfortable with the person you're with. But there is that element of it's nice to be that comfortable around someone as well, where you can just, be yourself in front of them.
I just ripping pork farts.
Not to be confused with ham farts.
Yeah, totally different.
That's never okay.
It's tough, right? There's pros and cons. Yeah, new relationships, there's a lot of cool stuff when you're in a new relationship that fizzles and you don't get back. But there are also inherently good things that happen once you are established with someone that you can't have early in a relationship. So pick your poison, I guess.
I will say this feels different now too. Like times have changed a little bit, even in the intervening years from this airing to now, where like I think this pressure for marriage is not even the same it was then. Like you can just be with somebody for a long time and there wasn't the like parental pressure or societal pressure to be like, why aren't you guys married? I feel like that's dropped off a lot.
You know what's kind of funny is, as you say that, I remember being a kid, and it's funny now because like the Culkins are like back, like Macaulay got a star and Kieran just got an Oscar. I remember as a kid, the fact that their parents were unmarried was like this weird tidbit about the family that you heard about. Like they're together, they've been together for years and have all these kids, but they're not married. And you went, what? Like that was like a weird thing that like
that was way darker than divorced or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like a weird thing about them that got mentioned, the fact that they were unmarried. And like now that's so common.
They were unmarried, but they never left him at home and went on vacation.
That's true. I left the garage door up. That must be it.
So now like they have this conversation and now it's like it turns into a like how you feeling? Like, oh well, I am a little woozy. And you kind of like getting back into the role playing things. It's like, oh well, Mr. Miller, I think I know the exact thing. And like closes the curtain and takes her jacket off, like still has the outfit on.
Did anybody else think here the joke was him going to be like, no, I mean, I'm really woozy. Can you get the nurse? Like, that's where I thought this was going.
No, I didn't. I wasn't like thinking ahead at that point. I mean, I could see it.
I just thought the payoff was going to be like the nurse opens the thing and be like, sir, you can have your hooker in the bed.
That would have made sense. She already called her a stripper earlier. So even if she opened it, like, I knew I shouldn't have let her in, like something like that. Like that would have made sense. So I actually thought here, the whole like she climbs into bed with them now and they're like starting to like kiss a little bit. And I think that, again, it's funny, but like by now the two of them have significantly better chemistry with one another than we saw in the beginning of the episode. And it's not just because they're like being physical with one another.
It's not even about like better or worse chemistry. It's just the chemistry is different with them in every scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always changes.
Guys, there's no continuity.
Exactly, yeah.
I will say in this scene too, to go back to a different sitcom, there is the episode of the Drew Carey Show where Drew Carey falls out of bed.
And he breaks his boner.
And breaks his boner.
He trips on the dog.
He's like hovering on his boner.
He's going to finally have sex with Kate.
I remember that. It was so good.
And I feel like that's this. Like he's wearing just a sheet essentially, right? And like she's grinding up on him and they fall out of the bed. You're like, I thought the other joke would have been
so it's funny you say that, Joe, because before she gets in the bed and she's talking dirty to him, they show a weird angle and you see his foot. And I thought he had a massive boner. Just the angle it was. It's crazy. And then they show the other angle. I go, oh, it's his foot.
They're trying to trick the censors at like NBC or whatever this was. Yeah.
Yeah. So they start kissing in bed and then it basically just evolves into like, he goes to unbutton her top and she's like, oh, be careful. I have to return this tomorrow. Like, you rented it? No, I left the tags on. I knew I wasn't going to wear it after this one time. And like, as they're getting into that whole conversation, the two of them just like fall out of bed together. Like, I don't know how this turned into them falling, but they fall out. And then you just hear like, I guess only he got hurt because you hear Whitney's voice closing the episode going, nurse, real nurse.
This is why also when you buy clothes, you always wash them before you wear them.
Especially if you get it from one of those places.
I don't do that, but I guess it probably should, yeah.
I mean, I don't either, but if it's like a hoodie or something from a direct place, I guess that's different. But like, I don't know. Underwear or sexy clothes, I guess you should wash first,
Well, it depends. Like, is like, I don't know what comes in the set, right? Is it just is the red underwear like part of the set, or is that you just wear it to match the outfit?
I will say this. One of my favorite podcasts of all time is a podcast called Your Stupid Opinions, where they just like go through people's reviews of stuff, and it's so funny. And they do like a personal item of the week. And their whole thing is like, that is your whatever thing, because anything that could touch your privates no matter what the company is, there's a no return thing. And there's always people who are like, I'm so mad at Amazon for not letting me return this dildo. So the companies, I think, are smarter than that. So, like, I think if you bring that, they're like, the underwear is not returnable. Maybe the
So
white...
I'm assuming when she bought the sexy set, maybe the coat and hat is the only thing that can get returned here.
No, the underwear had to have been part of the set because she didn't have anything sexy to wear when she wanted to fuck the night before.
That's true. But maybe she bought that to go with it. She can't return it. You can't return used underwear. That's gross. You can't fucking do that.
I've worked in a lot of retail stores in my life. A lot of them were clothing, and the amount of times you had to tell somebody in real life, I'm sorry, you can't return underwear is fucking bananas.
Yeah, that was the close of the episode. I do think in hindsight now, maybe giving that like last line to that nurse would have been the way to go. That's it. I mean, that was a whole... I was surprised looking back and seeing it had a second season.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I didn't realize it had lasted that long.
How many episodes was it altogether?
Like 38 or something, I think.
Yeah, it was like 38, I believe, somewhere in
Okay.
that range. Now, I do know that, like, looking back, this show is one that, I guess from season 1 to season 2, I think, like, Whitney was getting, like, a lot of flack from people, like, I guess online and stuff, like, she got, like, really criticized, and they tried to take some of the pressure and focus off of her on a show that's just called Whitney, and they basically, by season 2, tried making it more of a Friends and incorporating the whole group a little bit more.
What was she getting criticized for? I don't get.
I think it was like there was something about like a mix between how she was being perceived, and I think people were being hard on her because she was just like a pretty girl that was like starring in the show, and like I think maybe she was being undervalued for like her other talent, but
And people are just shitheads in general.
yeah.
That being said, if the rest of the show is as bad as this, I can understand it. And people take criticisms as like harassment now. So it's
I said it earlier, we watched this show new and we made it through, I think, 2, maybe 3 episodes. And I really like Whitney Cummings. We were like, this is bad. So like, I just don't think it's a good episode or a good show.
Yeah, I watched a couple that just kind of disappeared for me. The other thing was, I don't know if you saw this fact, that like she was like so sleep deprived, like at the doing this show and like worrying about all this other shit that like they had to bring someone in to digitally fix like the black eye under her eyes, like frame by frame.
Was it like Henry Cavill's mustache in Justice League?
So yeah, they had to digitally, like, imagine the extra money that is to just be like, we need to make her eyes look less tired.
I mean, like, that makes me feel for her so much more, too. We were like, this poor fucking woman was so tired they had to digitally fix her eyes. Like, I'm glad the show got canceled because she probably just needed to not be doing this shit. And for no reward, right? Like, if you're putting out garbage, you know?
As we said, in Two Broke Girls, which is a show that we eventually have to cover, did so well.
I'm going to be sick that week.
It was such
Me too.
Well, regardless of how you guys may feel about it, it was still a massive success of a show. I think, like, she could probably just, like, live a comfortable life just off the money she made off of that one show.
I think she's doing just fine.
She is. She's doing very well. But I think just that check alone, the Two Broke Girls creator check, is enough to live a comfortable
That's also
life.
one of those shows, too, that got, like, immediate syndication, is definitely over 100 episodes. Like, it's on TV all the fucking time. Like, I'm sure she's making good money and good for her. I think she lives on a farm now. She's got a kid. Like, good for her, man.
Yeah. She recently decided she doesn't want to have guests on her podcast anymore. I don't know how I feel about that, because I actually listen to her podcast, and, like, I don't know. The one-man show ones I'm not as big into.
I always find it weird just because I internalize that, where I'm like, I would feel so weird just talking to the void for an hour
Right.
every week. I don't have enough to talk about.
I don't think I would feel weird doing it. Like, if you found a topic that, like, you could just riff on, it would just be... I completely lost my train of thought on that one. Gordo, just delete what I said. Move on. I had something and it's gone now.
Imagine Nick's one man, as Nick's talking about the ability to talk alone on a thing and struggles to get through the sentence. Yeah. I think I can do a podcast on my
Squirrel.
I've recently been writing sort of music articles. Right, it's like and that's not even talking. That's just like, hey, concentrate on this thing that you love more than anything and write about it. And it's hard. You're alone. It's one subject. You're on your own. You have to and I edit and I edit and I edit and I edit. If someone said just riff and talk about it, I don't think I could fucking do it for an hour without it being like meandering or, like it's hard to just do that shit.
Why don't you write some articles for us about sitcoms?
Because I can't even write too many articles about music.
So with everything being said, I think we've kind of exhausted this one. Might as well get into the green light or cancel. I want to remind anyone, without Gordo here, in the event of a tie, his vote will still be counted and it will be on our socials. So if you go to S1E1 Pod on Instagram, X, anything like that, you will see a graphic and you'll know how he voted. With that all in mind, I guess I'll just kind of go around the horn. Joe, starting with you.
We've seen this a lot. I think it's easier now to not seem too mean 200 plus episodes in. Very funny people and very talented people can make very unfunny shows. And that's, I think, just the case here. I think Whitney is super funny, super talented. I just think this was not, and maybe it was a different point in her life where she was trying to like check boxes or something. This just feels way too much to me like the pressure was on because this is a post Thursday night NBC scenario where they needed new sitcoms and she was just trying to hit boxes and it just didn't work. I don't think that's anything against her. I just think this is a very bad sitcom. I feel bad for her too, that unbeknownst to her, obviously, like probably poisoned the well a little bit for reruns and syndication by the nature of some of the cast. You can never fucking see that shit ahead of time. There was a reason I didn't continue watching it live when it was on, and I don't think I'll revisit this one again. This is not a green light for me. This is a cancel.
So I'll just go next. I was a little torn, to be completely honest with you. So I don't think this is a fantastic episode of television, and I have a lot of issues with it. The second, or I would say like the final act of the show, really, kind of like the final like 7 minutes or so, I thought really turned for the better, right? Which makes me think like, oh, like maybe they just needed a little bit to get rolling, right? Like maybe like they found their rhythm, the chemistry seemed a little bit better. The joke seemed a little bit more crisp. Overall, just a more enjoyable show. But even with that in mind, and even though I think that there is a chance that like it improved by the next episode, I got to give it the cancel. I just didn't really like any of the supporting people around them. So if, other than like, even if Chris D'Elia and Whitney Cummings chemistry gets better and the jokes are a little bit better, I don't like any of the friends in that group. And if they're going to be a major part of the show, like there isn't one of them that I enjoyed really watching. Neil was okay, I guess. But other than that, like I didn't like the other girls. I didn't like Mark. With that in mind, that's a cancel from me. So, Nick.
Yeah, this is it's obviously a cancel, but it's kind of like a disappointing cancel. Like for other shows you cancel, it's like whatever, it sucks. I just feel like this sitcom is just like on the cusp of being good, and it was just really, really weighed down by just poor writing. Unlike you, Jay, I actually did like the cast. It wasn't even because his character was such a creep. I do not like the guy who plays the cop. Like nothing about that character is good. But with exception to him, I actually enjoyed the cast. And the funny parts were actually really funny. So I feel like if they had just spent a little bit more time on this, maybe you're right, maybe there was pressure or something like that. But if they had just hashed this out a little bit better, I do think there is potential, which is why I think this is a disappointing cancel, because of, you hate to see potential get wasted on a sitcom like this, because maybe it could have been great, but we'll never know because they just failed so hard at the beginning. But yeah, there's not too much else to say about this show. Could have been good, but it wasn't, so it's a cancel.
Nick, I would like to say I do enjoy the new term in our lexicon here, a disappointing cancel. I like that a lot.
Ferg.
So yeah, this is a cancel from me as well. I hated this show, and I didn't even enjoy hating it, so it wasn't even a fun watch. The writing was just so bad. It's that technique of, we wrote the jokes and then we write the scene around it. It doesn't work. You have to fit your jokes in where they belong, and it just doesn't work. I think all the cast members are talented on their own, but I didn't see any real chemistry between any of them. Like even the married couple that fuck all the time, it's like they just seemed awkward together. Nothing worked for me with this. I was clock watching the whole time. I think maybe it was too big of a cast. Although I will say I got a sense of who each character was, so I guess it's not a too big of a cast thing. It's just I didn't like who each person was. They were all just terrible. So, yeah, easy cancel for me.
Well, so I will say, regardless of Gordo's vote, it's going to be a cancel because we're already at 4 out of 5 with a potential for a 5 out of 5 total cancel here. The other thing I wanted to mention real quick before we close out, which just kind of dawned on me, is, I talk about how things kind of found their footing later in the episode, and I know things aren't filmed scene for scene, start to finish. There's stuff where, like, in the hospital where I know, like, there were parts that were reshot because of them changing the mother's character out and stuff like that. And I just kind of wonder if they had just reshot the entire pilot, if maybe certain things would have hit better and they would have tweaked it in a way that I would have found it more enjoyable. With that in mind, sorry to Whitney. That is a no from us. You do not live on to see another episode. I want to thank all of you guys for listening, as every week. Go to S1E1pod.com. That's where you can find all the links to where you can listen to us, all our social medias. Give us a follow on Instagram, X, everything. Feel free to shoot us a message. Let us know shows you want us to cover, things like that. Just talk to us in general. It's always good to catch up with you guys. To not keep you guys very late, want to thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you again next week with another new episode. Until then, thank you. Goodbye.
Ooh, I think we got the best Crystalia. Casper, what did I say? Every fucking time. Sorry, guys.